Good afternoon, everybody. Graham once again from Unearthed, and another episode of Detecting Talk. No better time to do it, actually. I'm sat in the car park at the hospital in Preston. Melanie's in there today, so I'm going to be burning a few hours waiting patiently for her, so a good opportunity for me to do the next film. Based around a loosely based film around detecting in general. There's a couple of things that I would like to get not off my chest as much, but to talk to use people about and maybe strike a chord or two. But detecting in general has changed significantly, I think, over the last decade or so. So if we cast our minds back to when I started detecting I started in the 70s when I was a kid, but properly started in the 1980s. It was a different world then. I mean, we never really met any other detectorists. It was pretty much cloak and dagger if you actually detected, so I didn't really tell too many of my friends and family that I actually metal detected, because it was seen as a bit of a geeky hobby, in so much as, you know, people sort of put the detectorist out there alongside the train spotter, and it was pretty much seen as being a little bit of mickey taking going on by friends and family. So detecting was pretty much not a secret hobby or a pastime, but it was not really discussed in any shape or form with your close friends, really, that didn't detect. It was strange. You know, we used to go out most weekends and detect, but, you know, if friends said, "What are you doing this weekend? Are you playing football? Are you playing rugby?" or whatever it might be? Yeah, we might be, but detecting was never mentioned. It was always a bit there's a lot of piss takers actually out there, really, in them days. Anyway, it's changed significantly. So I think the rise of social media has put detecting under the spotlight at least over the last 10 years, possibly more. It's become really popular, in so much as it's become that popular that a lot of households now own a metal detector for the family. You know, like the family detector that's in the garage, or the family detector that's upstairs in the spare bedroom that they can all use at some point down the beach, or, you know, in the back garden, or wherever it might be, on a friend's paddock or wherever. So detecting has become really popular due to the rise of social media. Now, a lot of people think that's a bad thing, and I can sometimes understand where people are coming from when they say there's far too many people out there detecting and coming into the hobby. But we've got to remember, detecting is pretty much open to everybody that wants to have a go at it. It shouldn't be boxed off to the elite. It shouldn't be boxed off to the people that think they're above everybody else. It should be enjoyed by anybody that wants to participate in a rather, you know, it's a pastime, it's a hobby. It should be viewed that way, and that's the way I view it. But we've also got to remember the people that coming into the hobby need to know the rules and regulations and the laws surrounding you know, the do's and the don'ts of where you can go and where you can't go, the Treasure Act, the treasure laws, permission, and everything else. Now, one of them that is raised an eyebrow with me recently, with a discussion actually with a guy that bought a detector off us not so long back, was he was telling me about how many hammered coins he had in his collection, which was good. You know, it was a big amount of coins. It was a lot. You know, you're talking hundreds of hammered coins. And he said his partner, now him and his partner had split up. Him and his detecting partner had split up because the guy who he detected with wasn't keen on sharing the coins with the landowner, or the artifacts with the landowner, or whatever he found. Now, we've got to remember that, you know, you're invited permission only to detect on farmland, for example, that anything you find belongs to that landowner, and you need to get an agreement in place pretty quick if you want to share the finds with the landowner. So the landowner is entitled to anything that you find. It's come off his land. You might be the one that finds it with your detector, with your expensive piece of kit, but you know, you've got to remember that the landowner has the rights to everything that you find. So you need to get an agreement in place pretty quick, 50-50. We spoke about it on the last video, didn't we? We've got one in Cumbria that has an 80-20 agreement, which is interesting. And not, you know, it's probably pretty common that there's some landowners, farmers out there that want a bigger share of the coins and artifacts that you find, and that's fine. That's up to you to agree to that, and that's up to them to agree to it. Or else you're probably not going to get on the land. So it's imperative that you make sure that you've got things in place with the landowner, you know, an agreement in place right from the start, that, if the landowner's quite keen on sharing the wonderful coins or artifacts that you might find, and he's entitled to do that, and you're also going to want to get an agreement in place because you want to build up your collection. There's a lot of people out there with wonderful coin collections that have come off farmland, and that's fantastic, and that's the way it should be. But you've got to remember, you've got to get that agreement in place right from the start that the farmer is entitled to anything that's found. So get that sorted for people that are coming into the hobby. They need to be aware of that, because there's a lot of that aren't. We had one farmer not so long back, was asking, not a farmer of mine, by the way, but we approached him for permission. It was a couple of years ago now, and he was quite adamant that he was not going to let anybody on detecting, because he was soured, is the right word, soured he used. I'm soured by a group of detectorists that came along from a club in the northwest, and pretty much blitzed his whole farm, never showed him what he found, and we're there for about 3 weekends on the trot, and then disappeared, and he never heard of them after that. So he's now wondering what they've found on his land, and that's the wrong way to go about it. Absolutely wrong. This is what gives the hobby a bad name. We've got to make sure, everybody that detects now, we've got to make sure they do everything by the book, because believe me, there's people watching out there that do not want us doing what we do as a hobby, as a innocent pastime. They'll use anything against us that they can with regards to detecting. Any slight hiccup, or any slight movement off the straight line, and they're onto it. So we've got to make sure that everybody does the right thing by the law, by the book. I'm just going to move this phone over that way a little bit, thank you, because there's a bit of a shadow going on. So what we're going to do is, we actively promote detecting, the do's and don'ts of detecting, to our customers and friends, but there's going to be a bit of a change coming up pretty soon. We've got the information on the website about the do's and don'ts of detecting as well, but we're going to start putting leaflets and information in the detectors we sell, so people can digest the information right from the start. Lots of really interesting and relevant information about detecting, the do's and don'ts, which hopefully will go down really well and give people that information that they require, rather than sort of coming into the hobby blind, going onto Google and seeing what they can find information wise, which is not always the best place to look. At least they can get the information readily from us direct, and probably other dealers as well. So there you go. I'm hoping that's of use, that will be of use to a lot of people, and if, of course, some of our current customers, if they want a copy of these leaflets, they can always request it, and we can see if we can get it into some sort of PDF format. So that's going to be quite interesting coming up soon. What else have we got going on? So yeah, there's grumblings going on in the background now that organised digs are going to start taking place, and rallies, and I've noticed a lot on social media, people are starting to get the word out there that they're going to be doing this, that and the other all over the country. Just be aware that they've got to make sure that they follow the rules and regulations around COVID and things, and the lockdown and everything else that kicks into place. And if that's fine, then I can't see it being a problem for people to start doing what they do. As soon as these lockdown regulations, then everything changes. There'll be plenty of people out there chomping at the bit to get out on some rally land and meet with their old friends and buddies out in the field. You can't blame them, they've waited too long. 12 months or more is a long time to wait, with little gaps in between for people. People are now getting bored. It's now time to start looking to the future and enjoying the hobby of detecting. I haven't been or travelled away detecting since last September. So you won't have seen a detecting session on here of me out in the field since, well, 6 months, more than 6 months ago, 7 months ago. It's ridiculous. So we're chomping at the bit to getting out, and of course time's against us now because the crops are starting to grow. The grass is just starting to grow now, so in the next couple of months, 6 weeks, a lot of the farms are going to be out of bounds, so we're going to have to wait even longer to get on our permissions and things up and down the country, which is going to be a little bit frustrating for everybody, but anyway, that's just the way life is. Okay, I hope that's been of use. We're going to do another Detecting Talk episode sometime next week, in between lambing, which is also going to take a lot of our time up. But you've got to cram everything into life. I think life's a little bit too short, I think, and we've got to make sure we do everything we can while we're still here, because you just never know what is round the corner. So, you know, let's plough in as much energy to things as we possibly can before we're too old to do it. Give us a like, give us a comment or two. You can subscribe to the channel if you wish. And just before you disappear, there is going to be a weekender, an Unearthed weekender with one of our partners in August in the northwest. So look out for that. We'll get more details on this channel when that comes up. Okay, everybody, thanks for watching. Bye for now. Take care.